Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be showing you how to do motion graphics using Adobe After Effects. So if you when you open up After Effects for your very first time, you get something like this. So here you will be needed to create a new project. We are going to go here to new project. Once you create a new project, you come directly here. So this is how Adobe After Effects interface looks like. So this is the interface. This is where everything happens. This is where we create everything we want to do concerning After Effects. So if you have ever opened After Effects, you are familiar with, I'm sure you are familiar with this interface. But if this is your very first time, After Effects can be a bit intimidating. So for example, when I opened it for the first time, I didn't know where to start from because I was used to Adobe Premiere Pro, but now this looked a bit different. So now this is what we talk about. This is what I'm talking about. So when you come here, you need to create something called composition for the first time. Like every time you open it, you need to create a new composition. So you come here and create this, or press that. So it's by default it comes with a name called comp, short for composition. I'm also going to go with that comp1. But when you come here, you need to set the duration, how long you want that your project, how long do you want that project to be. I want it to be 1 minute exactly. Okay, so I need to make this one. So after that, you can press OK. So now you can see here we have from 0 seconds to 60 seconds. That's 1 minute. So now you see it has changed because we created a new composition. You can see here it's comp1, which is the same here. So here is where you add your for example, if you want to import new footage, graphics, let's say images, what things you want to use in your composition, we bring them here. This is like the bin. If you are in if you want to compare with Premiere Pro, this is acts as our bin. This is where we put our materials. So now, before we start any other animation, or we start with the motion graphics things, so I just want to show you a few things. Here are our tools. These are the tools we use. For example, you see I'm already using the selection tool, which has a shortcut of V. This is the hand tool. This is the zoom tool. Orbit around cursor tool. Actually, I don't use most of these. I use a few tools, but with time you can start using. You can use any tool you want. When you really need to use it, you can use it. But me, I don't use most of them. I use a very few. This is the rotation tool, pan behind, or anchor point tool. We shall see how to use this anchor point tool. Then this is the rectangle tool. So the rectangle tool, you see it has this sign here. This means it has many other tools, like it has many other different shapes. When you press and hold, you see now we can get many different other shapes, like the rounded rectangle tool, ellipse tool, polygon tool, star tool, We shall see how to use all of them, those shapes. Then we have the pen tool. Still, the pen tool also has more other tools inside. So right click, left click and hold. You see now we have many other tools here. We shall see when time comes how to use those ones. We also have the horizontal type tool, but still it also has other tools. Yeah, so now this is the horizontal type, this is the vertical type. For example, if you want to write something like this in this kind of shape, that's the vertical type tool, but we are not going to use that for now. This is the brush tool, clone stamp tool, eraser tool, roto brush tool, and puppet position pin tool. You see it has many other tools within. So after showing you that, let's go and start create some things and see how we are going to do some motion graphics. Yeah, we're going to do like how we are going to start. So you remember when I was showing you the vertical tool, you remember I got something here, but I didn't want to talk about it at that moment. So when you want to start, let's say we are going to create a text animation, we have to come here, select that horizontal type tool or type tool, and then you click here. Once you click here, you see you get a new empty text layer. Whatever happens here, it also comes here. Or whatever you do, it is visible. This is the preview. This is where you see what happens within your composition. So let's type something and see. So, for example, let me type something like After Effects. So we have our first text, which is After Effects. Now you can see even this one is named After Effects. So now after this, you see now this one is selected, and here in the preview it's showing you it is highlighted with these dots. If I unselect it, you see all the dots disappear. So I want to show you something about these dots. You see this thing now, this thing here, it's called the ink tool. Remember we talked about it in the tools here, tools section. It's the pan behind, or ink tool. So the ink tool, what is the use of the ink tool? Ink tool is very important in After Effects. For example, it helps us in positioning these effects of any object we are using. For example, now I'm using the text tool. No, I'm working on a text. So this tool, the ink tool, helps us to position here. For example, if you want to rotate this text here, it will rotate from the point where the ink point is. Let me show you what I mean by that. So you see when you come here, you open more effects or more parameters on this layer. So you see we have the transform, we have the text. Let's first see what happens when you open transform. So when you open transform, you see we have the ink point, position, scale, rotation, opacity. So now let me show you when I try to rotate this word, how it is rotating. You see, this side is rotating, but here, this is like the center This is the point of rotation. Everything rotates from this point. So if I put it back, you see, here everything moved here, but it did not move where the point is. So if you want to rotate it, for example, from the center, you need to select the anchor point tool and then come and put it here. You pull it and put it in the center. So now if I try to rotate again, let's see what I will get. You see, now it's rotating from the center because the anchor point is centered. You can still do the same thing. You can push it to the end. Still, when you rotate, it will still rotate from the center, from the point where anchor point is located. So does this anchor point have to be in a particular area for you to do animations? No. This anchor tool, you can position this anchor tool according to how you want your effect or your animation to look like. For example, me, I most of the times I prefer it when it's in the center. So most of the times I put it in the middle there. So after putting it in the middle, then I can do other things. So another thing, if you want to make sure that this anchor point is in the middle, and it's always in the middle of this in the middle of this screen, we have a shortcut that we can use to position it well. First of all, let me first put it back. Let me put it here. So I have to make sure that this layer is selected, and then we are going to press Alt Control Home. You see, it has brought, when you press Alt Control Home, it will automatically center this anchor point in the middle of that particular object you are dealing with, be it a shape, be it layers like text layers, anything you are dealing with. At the moment you press Alt Control Home, it will always be positioned in the middle of that particular object. Now we need to bring it in the center of the screen. What we do is we press Control Home. You see, now it has been positioned in the middle of the screen. So that is it. If you want, for example, if I bring another layer and say tutorial, you see, now it's up here. It's not even in the middle at all. But instead of just moving and guessing where the center is, where the middle is, I just press Alt Control Home. You see, now it is positioned in the center or in the middle of this text layer. So now I need to move it here in the middle exactly. So I just need to press Control Home. You see, let me first disable this. You see, now we have tutorial in the middle. If I bring back this, you see that one is also in the middle. So that's how you can simply position them without having to guess or hassle too much. Okay, first of all, I'm not going. Let me first leave this tutorial text layer disabled. So we are now going to start dealing with how we can animate this our text layer. So when you come here to position, we see many properties here or parameters. whatever you prefer to call it. So now we have seen what the anchor point does. Positioning, I don't know if you already know what positioning does, but let me show you. You see, now we have these two parameters under position. We have this and this. So every time you want to move this our layer, either up or down, left or right, we always use this. So one moves it either on the horizontal axis and another moves it on the vertical axis. Let me show you. So now let's first move using this. You see, now this one is moving it towards along the horizontal axis. You see, this figure is moving. Every time I move it, you see our text layer is moving. Now when I come here and use this other one, you see it's also moving it along the vertical axis. So that's what positioning does. I can put it back to its original position. Let it be there. So now let's look at the scale, what scale properties does. Now with the scale, you see it's moving, it's in a uniform movement. It is scaling uniformly. What happens here is that you see this link here, this link thing, it's called constraint proportions. Alt click, set all dimensions to the same value. So when this one is still there, it means as you scaling, it will scale along the vertical axis and along the horizontal axis at the same time. But we can choose to scale it either on the vertical axis only or on the horizontal axis only. So let's first remove it and see what happens here. Now you see the vertical, it's only affecting the vertical axis of this text layer, but the horizontal axis is not affected at all. So we can go back. Let's put it back here. Okay, now let's see how we can scale the horizontal. You see, now it's only affecting the horizontal axis. So let's link it together and see what happens then. Now you see it's expanding uniformly. So that's how scale works. Okay, so we saw the rotation. Let's look at opacity. Opacity means how anything you are dealing with, any object you are dealing with, how it visible it looks or how transparent. Anyway, it might not be transparent, but let me show you. Let me show you. Let me create another shape layer here. I created a mask. Let me use the ellipse tool. Oh, sorry. Now The only challenge is this layer was already selected, so I don't need to select it. It has to be, I have to make sure that none of these layers are selected. So when I come here, I create this. Now you see the shape is appearing. The other time it was creating a mask. If you want to create a shape layer, make sure that no any other layer is selected, because if you try to create a shape layer when one layer is already selected, it will come as a mask. Yeah, so now that is it. Let's first position it. See, now it is centered. Okay, now let me show you what opacity means. So you see now it is 100%. So let's put it down and see what opacity does. You see, now it has disappeared, because now opacity is set at 0. If you want it to be visible, you can bring it up, but remember it does not exceed 100. So that's how we can use opacity. So the next thing we are going to see how we can animate our layers here. Let's start doing some animations. Animations is not only about if you come from the entertainment world, you might be used to animations like the cartoons and such things, but we also have animations here. Animation is moving. Let's say, for example, if we have our layer here, moving it from here to another point, that's animation. It's called animating or animation. So let's see how we can have this layer move from one position to another. So what are we going to do? First of all, we are going to come here and make sure that our layer is selected. Let's open more to get to these properties. So we are going to use the position property, and we are going to look at something new called keyframes. So you see this thing here. When I click it, you see it turns to blue, and you see here on our timeline we get something like a diamond. So we get a diamond here. What this does is that it locks that layer, that particular object you are working on, at that particular position. For example, if I move it, this timer, it's called CTI, or the current time indicator. So if I move my CTI here and then move my so now if I change my position, you see it is moving, but you see this thing that is connected to this layer. Now when I press play, it's going to move to that particular distance. You see, now it's moving until it reaches this particular diamond, which is called a keyframe. So this is showing our program that at this point, let that object be here. When this CTI moves up to this point, that means this particular object has to move also until where we have set our positions properties, so it will lock that object to that particular position. So that's, we have our first animation, though it is very slow, but that's how we create animations. So let's have another. Let's move it from, let's say we want this word to appear off. In the beginning it has to come from outside, it appears here and then it goes off. So how are we going to do that? Let me first push this word out here. So you see now on the position properties, you see we have its negatives. So I'm going to set our first keyframe here to make sure at the beginning point this word has to be off the screen. That means if you are viewing it on another device after rendering it, this word will appear like it will just come off screen and appear on screen. So at 0 centimeter, at 0 seconds, let this object or our text be off screen. So I'm going to move 2 seconds. So how do I get these 2 seconds? That means I have to expand this timeline. How do I expand it? We come here to time navigator. So I bring it here like this. You see now it is expanding. So now I can see the 2 second time here. So let me bring it. Okay. So now I'm going to move my layer, my text, so that it can appear here. So I'm going to use these position properties. You see it's now appearing. You have to push until you see it is in the position where you want it. So now it's there. Let's see how this one looks like. You see now it stops. It comes off. It comes from off the screen and then it appears on the screen and then it stops. Why? Because we have only 2 keyframes. You can add as many keyframes as you want. So I want this effect, this layer text to go off screen now, but I want it to appear on the screen for a while. For example, when it comes like this, I want it to stay for 1 second or 2 and then it goes off. That means from 2 seconds to 4 seconds it has to be on screen and then it goes off. So what do I have to do? I have to make sure that I duplicate this keyframe. How do I duplicate this keyframe? So now what I need to do is just come here, select this keyframe, press Ctrl C, move this where I want it the next keyframe to be, then Ctrl V. You see now we have 2 keyframes, and at these keyframes our text is not moving. You see, for those 2 seconds our text is not moving. So now after that I want this text to go off screen. What do I have to do? Is I have to come here to the position parameters and then push it off the screen like that. I have to push it until I'm sure it's off. Oh, I didn't move this. Sorry. I have to make sure my CTI or current time indicator is moved, so that by the time the CTI reaches these 6 seconds, my text is off the screen. So I have to come here and push it off the screen. So now this creates the 4th keyframe. Let's go back and watch our animation, how it unfolds. There we go. Now those are some of the basics we can use to animate our text layers. So now when you look at this animation, it's very slow. It's very slow. So no one is going to watch your animation or motion graphics when they are slow like that. But if you're a beginner, that's how we begin. You can't start with animating very fast things. So we have to start a bit slowly as we master our way up. So let me show you how you can speed this up. First of all, I'm going to remove all the keyframes. I'm going to make sure that my CTI or my timeline is more expanded. So I want to make sure that this thing comes on, it shoots on the screen. Like I want to make sure this one shoots on the screen. So I'm going to make sure that I have the keyframe here first of all. Then I bring my CTI here, very short distance. Then I bring my effect, like I bring my text on screen. I copy that. I have to copy that keyframe. Control C, Control V, and then move my CTI ahead, and then go back to our position parameters, and then move our text off the screen. Push these figures until the text is off the screen. So now let's see how our animation looks like. Oh, it's so fast. So fast. Didn't even give me time to explain anything. You see, now it comes so fast. That means I have to expand it a bit. Okay. Now let me take these two keyframes a bit forward. Let me bring this one here. Okay, let's see how this one looks like now. Very fast still, but okay, let's use 2 seconds. You see how fast it is. Yeah, not bad, though not perfect. So now when you look at this animation, this kind of animation, let me show you something. Right now you see these keyframes. We can do something to make it this kind of transitions a bit smooth, not rough. So we need to come to these. Let me select these keyframes. I right click, I go to keyframe assistant. Then I'm going to select something called easy ease in. You see now these keyframes have changed to something else. So let's see how that affects our animation. Were you able to notice any difference in how this word comes in? Okay, that's how it is. Let me show you the before. This is before adding the ease in. Then this is after adding ease in. With time you can be able to notice all those differences, all those changes. So now we also have something. For example, if you don't have time to create all those. So now if you don't have time to create all those animations yourself or manually, we have a built-in pre effects or presets we can use. So now let me open up this new tutorial layer, and then we are going to use that to see how we can use effects and presets. So now, having closed the first After Effects text, let's look at this and how we can use the effects and presets. So you see this panel. You see this panel here. I had not talked about it actually yet, but you come to all, these are all different panels and they do different things. But we are only going to talk about effects and presets. So effects and presets, when you open effects and presets, you see we have so many different effects and presets. But now we want to animate this text layer. What we are going to do is we are going to look for animation presets. You click here and then open for more options. Then we are going to go to transform. Now let's open text. Yeah, let's open text and then go to animate in. You see, now these are all the presets that are all built-in effects you can use to create more different animations. If you don't have time to create all the effects by yourself, let's see how this one works. You select it and then drag and drop on that particular layer you want to animate. So I want to animate this tutorial layer, so I bring it here. You see now it has disappeared. Now let's play and see how it looks like. You see, now that thing gives you a different animation, different from what I created myself in the beginning using this After Effects text layer. You see, let's see more others. Okay, let's see what this characters shuffle in does. You see, that's what it does also. Then let's see decoder fade in. You can go on and test many, test all of them and see how everything works. But mostly me, I prefer when it comes to effects and presets, I prefer the typewriter. That's what I usually use most of the times. So when you use these built-in effects, you can still go on and animate them or increase the speed. You open here and then now you see these two dots. Let me show you something. You see, when I open this one, you see the dots are here. These are the keyframes. They are on the transform properties. But when you open here, having used the effects and presets or the built-in effects and presets, you see these dots or the keyframes are now on the text. So let's go on that text and see how we can change them. So when you open the text more, you see we have source text, path options, more options, but we have this different thing here called animator 1. Animator 1 is this is the effect we brought in. This is it. So it is found here on animator 1. So when you open it more, we get range selector 1. Still you see our keyframes here. They are under range selector 1. So let's open more range selector. So now we can see the keyframes in their original size. Now when we come here and see, that shows that our tutorial or our animation is very slow, but you can speed it up yourself by bringing these keyframes a bit closer and then see how this effect works. You see how faster it was this time when I brought these keyframes closer. So one thing you have to realize about these keyframes is that the more the space is between two, let's say you are using two keyframes, the space between these two keyframes matters. So if you want this thing to take longer or your animation to take longer, make sure there is you increase the space between these two keyframes. If you want your animation to be faster, make sure you reduce the space between these two keyframes. So that's what I've done. I've reduced the space between here to make sure that my effect or my animation is fast. Let's play and see. That is it. It is a bit faster. I can even bring it a bit more closer to show you. See that one. So so far that's what we have. Let's see. So now, having enabled these two effects, now you can see they are here all congested. But I want to make sure that these animations, they are separate. So I want the word After Effects to come first and then the word tutorial to come later. So I'm going to make sure that After Effects comes from this side to the center and then this tutorial comes from bottom up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come here and then first remove this animator thing. And then I'm also going to come here to After Effects and make sure that all these keyframes are removed. So I'm going to come here, get this word tutorial. So I want this one to come from here, from sides, and then tutorial comes from bottom. So let's start. Let me first hide this one. So here I'm going to make sure that our thing, I want this to happen in 1 minute, no, 1 second. One second or two. So from here I'm going to make sure this is off the screen. So there it's off. I want it to appear here. Let me bring it. So let me also bring this one back. So I'm going to open and then select transform. So I'm going to make sure that I select. Now I'm not going to move the CTI back. No, I'm going to select from there. I'm going to click or set up our keyframe and then bring the CTI back. Here I'm also going to bring this. I'm going to bring now I'm going to hold this and bring it down. So when we play, let's play this and see. You see how it appears. So now we are having two words animating at the same time. Okay. So after having made that, let me make sure that this one is positioned very well. Okay, now before we move on to the next thing, so I want to first show you how to render this thing, how you can render this first composition, or how you do rendering, how you can export this. Of course, in Premiere Pro we know it's called export, but here in After Effects it's called rendering. So we are going to see how to render this. One technique, you can render this video and without the background. For example, if you want to import these texts into another video, you want to put them into another video and you made them separately here in After Effects, there is a way you can export them, and sometimes you can render these ones with a background in it. Okay, so now let me first show you how you can render without background. To render this, you come to Files, Export, Add to Render Queue. And you select that, Add to Render Queue. You come here, you can see now it has changed. So you have to come here and change the name. Let me call it Tuts. Because we are going to be getting more tutorials about After Effects, because After Effects is so big, so complex, that it has so many things we cannot exploit it in one day. So we have already finished setting the name. One thing, you can come here. Now when you come here, you see these options. Now you can choose if you want to export it without the background. We want to export only these text as they appear there, but without this black background, so that you can put them into another video. You choose high quality with alpha. So after that, you just come here and click render. Here you see, when you are setting the title, you of course set the destination where you want your videos to be exported. So let me change this, because I had already a default location where I was saving my files, but let me change the file. Let me create a new folder here. So everything I render from now will be saving in that folder. So here you come and select render. Of course you will see this thing moving, and immediately after rendering you will get that notification. That means your file is rendered. So now let's go and check where we have saved this, our video. And see how it is playing. You see now we have only one video in this folder. Let's play it. So now that is it. Let's repeat it. It's not a perfect thing, but it's a good for the start. So now this, you see this one. Now here you can see as if it has a background, but it does not have a background. Now we can export it into another video. Let me show you something. Okay, for example, my Premiere Pro is opened. Now let me show you something. Let me bring that video and I show you what I'm talking about. Now you see our texts do not have a background in them. So now let me show you how to export with a background. So we're going to come back to our comp. So now for you to export with a background, you need to create something called solid. You right click here and then go to new, then select solid. Of course it's going to give you ask for you to set a few things like the color you want. Since our thing our video our text is in yellow, let's select something different. Anyway, yeah, let's go with this color. Okay, now you see our composition has changed color. Now we have to make sure that this layer or the solid is it's the last one in the layer hierarchy, because if you put it on top you will not see other things. But now since I have put it behind, now we can see these words. So when you play, you see now you can see our text with the background. So for us to render this, we still repeat the same thing. You go to files, export, add to render queue. Now we come here, this is it. So since we are now exporting it to a different folder, I'm not going to change anything, and I want to export with this background, so I'm not going to change this. I'm going to say I'm only going to export high quality. So let's just hit render. Of course that's very fast. Let's go back and see. Now you see, here is our second composition. Let's play this. Now you see, now you can see the background. If I import this in another software, let's say in Premiere Pro, let me import this in Premiere Pro, and you see this is the first one, this is the second one. So let's check out the second one. You see, now this one is covering the entire video all through. So that's how you can export with background or without a background. It depends according to what you want. So thank you so much for watching this. Make sure you subscribe, like and comment, and share with other people who are interested in learning more and other tricks concerning video editing.